Welcome to No Inches DIY. Today I've got a new tool to review. I have purchased myself the Makita belt sander. My ozito one was just not quite up to all these big jobs on the Jarrah and it got cooked. I said to the people at it's been on the glass Barbie and it's cooked. So they just gave me a refund and I used that towards the price of this Makita one, which was quite a bit more. This Makita cost me, I think, $390 something. The ozito one, $80. But I think I'll get good value out of this because I'm doing a lot more work with Jarrah nowadays and I'm doing some bigger pieces. And they are quite good in terms of returning ozito gear that's cooked, but the trouble is it cooks at inopportune times. So I'm going to upgrade to the Makita and we'll see how we go with that, and I'll have plenty of work to keep it busy. Okay, let me show you what I'm working on. This is going to be another George Nakashima / Urban Industrial coffee table. I've already poured resin on it. Those bits there are just filling some holes that slipped through. I'm going to first take all that resin off with the 36 grit. Now that's marginally smoother than dragging something down the road. So the resin will come off. Resin's still a bit tacky, but it didn't block up the paper. Then the next stage is tuning up this base. It went on the flattening jig, but there was a bit of inconsistency. Some bits were deeper by about 3 mil, so there's quite a bit of sanding to do. The edge bit there's a bit loose, so that'll have to be pinned back on. I'll probably use some stainless steel bugle screws for that. Pour some resin in the ends to get it all looking lovely ways. And then I'll start going down through the belts, getting this nice, taking all the discoloration off from the resin, and that'll come up really well. Instructions, warranty card, dust bag without a zip. That's an innovation. You just put that over the hole. This is interesting that this sticks out further on the side and this is covered with graphite. So that might be a consumable, that part. I didn't think about that. In fact, it is a consumable and here's a spare one included. And it does dump graphite on your hands. So that'll be another dust pollution worry, but hopefully that'll keep it cooler, because these blades do tend to start to go slack when they get too hot. So I am going to check how the mechanism works here. Works quite well. I'll get that off. Oh yeah, so there's 2 small screws here to put this new pad on. I'm going to bash a 36 onto it. I wonder, can you run this with a wider belt? Probably not. Alright, I'll lock that in. Appears to lock in pretty easy. And click the dust bag on. You just squeeze somewhere to make it let go. Yes, there's a mechanism in there. Alright, that's on. That locking slide thing's in the right position. Always safety first. I've just put new filters in this. Jarrah is quite a nasty timber to work with. Check you don't have that locked in or you'll get a runaway when you plug in. Alright, so what I'll do before I mask up is I'll just check the belt tracking's right. Now this unpowered pulley at the front, it can change its orientation slightly so your belt doesn't track off either side. Now that is working perfectly. No need to adjust that. Alright, so I'm going to put my mask on, my earmuffs, and I'm just going to rip into this and I'm going to take all of this excess off. 3 minutes and 20 seconds of sanding time. It feels like you're on it for ages, but it's quicker than you think, and that took a lot of material off, all the resin off, and it looks quite good. That was very efficient. Well, a new belt. I did notice that a lot of the shavings didn't go into the bag, but that was their resin shavings, and they're probably still a bit sticky, but there is quite a bit in the bag. Now, when you're doing resin, that stuff goes in the bin. When you're doing wood, straight in the compost. So I've pretty much got that where I need it to be. I can see where I had a success with the crack filling. Pretty much everywhere. There's just a few little ones here that missed out. So I might pour a little bit more resin in there to get those sorted out, and then it'll be down to final finish then. What happens with your resin is it can soak in and discolor the wood. So I'm not going to take that discoloration off now, because you've got to cut it about 1 millimeter to get that out. So I'll do my next pour, get rid of these minor imperfections, and then I'll go one more go with the 36 grit, get this all down till it's all one color, and then I'll start moving through the belts. But that performed well. And the best thing about Makita, probably if you live in a capital city, you've got a big Makita distribution centre that also does repairs. Mine's just around the corner in Maddington, so I've had broken bits off my Makita tools before, and you just take it there and they just fix it pretty much within the day. So I am going to move on to this next piece, which is the part of the table that contacts the ground. I've flattened that with my flattening jig, but there's a few minor imperfections in that, so I'll just buzz that down. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's touching the ground, no one will see it, but I'll just quickly buzz that off. Now, I was very impressed with this dust bag. You just slide that off, and then you've got this big opening there, which is very easy to shake the dust out of. And you just squeeze this here to open this up to get it on here. Beautiful. Now just put my safety gear on and I'll just buzz this flat. Alright, so I spent 5 minutes on this base and 2 of the ends. Then I had to stop for a minute or so to get a saw to just cut a chunk off one end. And then I probably went another 2 or 3 minutes. And it didn't get hot, and it performed well, and it took at least 3 millimeters of material off this base, and it came up really nice. So I've given this a little spin. It ripped through all that excess resin. I'm a little bit concerned that it doesn't pick up as much dust as I'd hoped, but there is a fair bit in the bag, but a fair bit got through. But I think it's a pretty good machine. I'm a little bit concerned about this pad here that sticks out. It means you can't go right at the edge if you're in a corner. But otherwise it seems like a good unit, and in most capital cities you'll have a place where they can repair them close by. So that's the main reason I went for Makita with my upgrade. So happy with that, and I'll get on and get this set up for another resin pour.